I am Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair. I am Michelle Chalfant. Happy to be here with you today talking about relationship PTSD. Yes, relationship PTSD. I have heard from so many of you in the Adult Chair closed group asking me to do a podcast on how you navigate life post an abusive relationship, or even if it's not from a narcissist or abuse. What I really want to point out today, we're going to talk a lot about trauma and PTSD, but many of you, what I realize is, don't know that what you're experiencing right now is PTSD. And we're going to talk today about what trauma is, what the signs are of some PTSD if you might be having, and then how do you heal from that. So we've got a big show today. I'm very excited to share all of this with you because I realize it's really needed based on all of the questions I've had in that group. Today, I'm having on again our friend Tracy. She's someone I've known for a few years. This is actually her third time on. And I love it because she was on podcast 179 talking about her relationship, or she was the title of it is, I'm in a relationship with a narcissist. So she was married to someone that was a covert narcissist. She talks all about it on show 179. Then we did a show with her, show 199, dating from the adult chair, which was wonderful. In other words, after you complete a relationship like this, how do you start dating again? So today I invited her to come on because what I realized is, in knowing her for the last few years, she's had some PTSD post her marriage. And I've been with her and it pops up, and she was completely unaware that it was even PTSD. So I thought, you know what? This is perfect. She's done a beautiful job with her healing journey. And I know that her story is going to help so many of you out there. So without further ado, hello, Tracy. So nice to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So like I just said to everybody, you've been on 2 different shows, and now this is your 3rd show. And, when I came to you and I said, hey, I really need to do the show on relationship PTSD. What do you think? You were like, oh yeah, that needs to happen too. So tell us a little bit about your story. I know that we've already done 2 whole shows, and the first show, 179, was all about your story. But just for the people that haven't heard that show, can you just give us a little bit about your relationship?
Yeah, so I'll give you just really high level. I was in a relationship with an alcoholic narcissist, covert narcissist, for 6.5 years. We were married for 3.5. And, it started off really good, and he impressed everyone, was exactly, he was that perfect guy and had that front on. And once we got married, that veil just came down. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, what am I in now? And it turned into what we talked a lot about that I didn't realize it slowly crept in, was a lot of just emotional and verbal abuse. The alcohol was in our lives every single day. I would literally pray for a day or 2, at least once a week. And it got down to once a month, just give me a break. So it was a very long traumatic event. It wasn't like a car accident or, something that was instant, but it was just over time. And I recall he would yell and scream at me, and he would put me down constantly, and just, I don't even want to say the things he said to me because I don't want to go back there. But I remember one of the biggest things that I think affects me today is I remember so many nights almost every night, locking myself in our back bedroom because I was terrified of him.
Mm.
And I would just sit back there and cry and pray that he would get so drunk that he would pass out, which would happen. And, it was 3.5 years of that. And we moved to another state, and I don't think I had the power to leave the relationship. So kind of had divine intervention, but he was kicked out of our apartment that we were renting in this new place. He was kicked out, and there was kind of a forced separation. And I thought, I'm going to try this out for a bit. It was hard. It was very, very hard. But over time, my eyes were open that it's time to end this relationship. And I did everything I could to get back to Nashville, which is my hometown and where all my family was. Got back, things just started happening and unfolding. I think a lot of people that go through a divorce know that there's just this moment that like something happens and it just clicks and this is it. So filed for divorce back in November of 2019. And here I am almost a year later. That's so crazy.
So crazy.
It's so crazy, but that's where I am today. And we had that conversation about going through that and recognizing narcissism because it can be hard to identify. Mm-hmm. And then the part 2 of our conversation was starting to date. And now here we are, part 3, that I got comfortable with dating, but things are happening and I'm so thankful you're in my life because things had happened and I didn't even realize I had PTSD. So I didn't realize why I would freeze or why my past was still affecting me. So I'm excited to talk about this and for you to share exactly what it is, because I hope I'm not the only one out there that doesn't know or didn't know.
No. Let me just say, you're not the only one.
And like you said, me, it was veterans coming back from war. Like that's what PTSD is to me. And I had no idea that, you can get it from bad relationships or even, with your mother growing up or whatever it may be.
Oh, it could be from anything. And let me just define what trauma is. And I actually went on Google. I mean, I know what trauma is as a therapist and a coach. I know what trauma is, but I'm just curious to see how Google would define trauma. And I went in and it just says a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Period.
Simple.
And I'm all about simple. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to adopt that definition, a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. And that's what people don't understand. I remember when I realized I had PTSD from my childhood, and I remember, it was probably about almost 10 years ago, I was opening up the refrigerator to my house and it just dropped in oh my gosh, I have PTSD. I was like, what? Again, no, I wasn't raped. No one was shot in my house. It wasn't anything major, but for me, it was the uncle that was abusive verbally and emotionally with my mother and would come over sporadically. You just never knew when he was going to come over. This is my dad's identical twin, and they were together all the time. So my uncle would pop in. We lived with him all summer. So I would hear the door open and I would jump as a child, oh God, he's here. Is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be, so I didn't know though, growing up, that was just my norm. And my sister and my mom and I would go, oh God, he's here again, but again, way back when nobody talked about this is traumatizing for you, Michelle. Nobody said that. But I know now as an adult, oh my gosh, I was living with PTSD from all of those years of that. My nervous system was wired based on the experiences with him and of course my family. So anyway, kind of crazy. And I don't think people know that. I know I'm not the only one. Like you said, you're not the only one. I know I'm not the only one, but that's why I wanted to have you on today, because PTSD, then we can experience trauma. Let me back up. Most people think of, again, military.
Yes.
Right? They go, PTSD, you're coming back from the military. You're coming back from battle, from war, from car accident. So there's car accident. There's a rape, something horrific. So there's big T trauma. That's a big T trauma. That's very obvious. But then there's a little T trauma. So the little T traumas are like what I experienced, what you experienced. I mean, you married a guy You dated him for 3 years. It was wonderful. And then the slow trickle began and you started to change. So you can experience trauma by, let's say, a mother, or it could be anyone it could be anyone. It could be a boss that is emotionally abusive. And let me just say what emotionally abusive is. Again, it doesn't even mean that you're getting yelled at. It could be someone that's lying to you all the time, gaslighting, someone that's very deceptive, that twists the truth. All of these things can then later on, all of those things are traumatic. If you're living with somebody like a parent or a boss or whomever, and they're looking at you and blatantly lying, and then you find out later, that can be very traumatic, especially if you're their child.
Yeah.
Or a sibling or whomever. But people that blatantly lie to your face, like that hurts. That is, again, let's go back to define this, a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That's a trauma. So think about small t traumas. So we can then PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. So post the trauma, after the relationship, after the trauma happens, we then have symptoms. We have signs that are coming up. And this is where I realize, after so long living with, I don't live with my clients, working with clients, I'm like, I've said this over 25 years, like, are you aware that you're experiencing PTSD? And so many people sit and say, what? That's not PTSD. And again, most people say, well, it wasn't like I had a car accident or the war, that's typically the response. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. So, and that was you, wasn't it, Tracy?
It was.
Yeah. I mean, and what?
I'm still in shock.
Yeah.
Because to me, it is that big event. But one of the biggest things, at least how I try to recognize it now, is when you have, in the moment, when you have fear about a past event that has already happened, that's the biggest sign to me. Or if I'm reacting away because my mind is going back there, that's the biggest sign to me. Yeah. And it's so easy and it's so simple, and you define it so simply, which is funny that people just don't know it. But until you are told or it's put in front of you, I think a lot of people don't realize that PTSD is so much more than a horrific car accident or going to war and coming back, which is sad, because I also think that means that a lot of people think that's just life. And I just, I had something bad to happen to me and I just need to get over it and move on. I need to remind myself, it's fine. I had that for a reason. And that's true to an extent, but I also think you have to work through it and you have to heal from it. And like you taught me, and the model and how it works, it's, you can work with that part of you. You can work with that PTSD to heal it. And I'm just excited. I'm not completely healed yet, but I'm so much better.
You've come a long way.
Yeah.
And what we've learned from all these trauma experts out there, like Bessel van der Kolk in his book, The Body Keeps Score, Peter Levine, my gosh, trauma expert, is that the body is what is experiencing the trauma and it doesn't let it go. We might forget about it and the brain goes, well, it's in the past, but the body and the nervous system are still, like for me, my nervous system was wired so that then when the door opens and I still startle, like that's a PTSD response, the startle. If someone sneaks up on me to this day, and my uncle's been gone for, 15 years now. I don't live at home. I'm not a little girl anymore. But if someone walks in and I have my back to the door, I still startle. Like there's this, now it's not like it was when I was a child by any means, but there's still that, because it's wired in. It's wired into the nervous system. So let's talk about some of the signs. Like what are some of the signs of PTSD? So for someone that is listening to this, they might go, well, how do I know that I have this? Or am I experiencing this? I don't think I have trauma, but how would I know? So these are some signs. Flashbacks, nightmares. Those are, again, kind of obvious ones. So physical or emotional reactions, even when you think about that person. And I know I've been with you, and especially like a year ago when you were going through the divorce, and there would be a text that would come in from him. And you, I would look at you and I could tell like you would leave, like gone. So what would happen to you?
I recall a year ago getting a specific text message that I remember. It was like, I literally feel like I left that room, that space, that everything. And all of a sudden I was back in that back room where I would lock myself in. And it was like, I almost could feel like just a total out of body experience. And I think, it was either I believe you or someone said, like, the color in my face just went away. Like, I totally exited my body, was back in that back room, locked in there because it terrified me from a text message. Yeah. That, by the way, at that time, I think he was like 500 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, which is crazy that something like that would make you freeze. But I couldn't hear. It was literally, I felt like I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't see anything. It was just this moment of, I wasn't even frozen. I was back in that room kind of thing.
Yeah. You left your body. You disassociated 100%. Out. Yeah. 100%. Which is, when I remember we were in Target one time and there was a text that came in and I looked at you and I said, Tracy, are you still with me? Like, I looked at you and I could tell, I was like, you're not in there, and we had to reground you and get you back in Target with me because you were gone. Like, you were really gone. And that was again, when you and I started talking about, like, are you aware that you're experiencing PTSD? And you were like, what? Yes.
And that's funny because I think it was at one of your workshops. The first one was at your workshop in Charlotte. And the next one was when we were at Target. And I think those were only a couple weeks apart.
Yeah.
Or a week
it
apart.
Was. Yeah, it was like 1 or 2 weeks apart. Yeah, they were.
I'm so thankful that you said that time frame because I'm looking back and I was like, oh my gosh, that was happening all the time. And now it's only occasionally.
Yeah.
So I think you have different experiences. It was, I left my body that second time. I almost was frozen and I was definitely not grounded. And then other times I think I freeze a lot. Like, I spilt water at this person's house that I was dating. I spilt water and I froze and was just waiting for him to yell at me. He's not going to yell at me, but I was waiting for it because that's everything that I got all the time in my marriage. And so I think everything, it's like my body subconsciously expects everything that happened before to happen now, kind of thing.
Of course. So that's your programming.
Yeah.
You developed a program in dating him and then, of course, being married to him. And the body naturally wants to keep itself safe. So it has wired you to keep yourself safe. So if that means shut it down, leave your body, freeze, whatever it is, then that's what you're going to do. Another sign of PTSD is that you may do whatever you can just to avoid seeing that person altogether. You're going to avoid that part of town, or you're going to avoid anything to do with that person, going to events where that person might be. Did you have some of that? I think you did.
I did. I know, absolutely. I am looking post-divorce. During divorce and post, I was renting a place and I still am. And, I decided it's time to fresh start, look for a house. And I realized the one place I've always wanted to live, which is a small town kind of south of Nashville, is Franklin. And it's where I grew up. I love it. But because he's in that area, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't go anywhere near it. Where does he shop? I can't go near that. And it's like, I can't let that dictate my future. But I absolutely avoid it. And I even realized, this is going to sound dumb, I know, but there's a restaurant we went to a lot and I love it. And they have some really good gluten-free pizza that I love. I'm terrified to go in. And my parents were in town and I made my dad go in and check first to see if he was in there. And I do still do that. And I know that's going to take time and I will get better from that. But, from the explosiveness, is that even a word, explosiveness?
No.
The explosive manner that he had towards me, it would go from being okay to he would just blow up at me.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified if I run into him in public, that's going to happen. And it's like, but what is that? What's going to happen if he does? Nothing.
Right. But there is no logical brain when it comes to this because there is no logical brain when it comes to this. So logically, again, we go, well, that's dumb. But the body's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Because the body, with trauma, we're stuck in the past. And it doesn't understand the body is not understanding that we've moved forward in time.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's a lot of the trauma work. Some people experience even lack of trust and building new relationships. They may live with avoidance of any relationship. Did that happen to you?
Do I even have to answer that, or do you just want to answer that for me?
Just answer that for you. Because you had been separated for probably, what was it, a year or so, even before your divorce?
A year. So I'm going on 2 years that I've been fully separated.
So I had to encourage you and nudge you hard to get back out there, because it had been a while and it was time, and you'd met someone really great that I vetted.
You did.
I did vet him. I was like, okay, this guy is safe. I could feel it. I interviewed him. I did interview him. I got to know him. I was like, you can date it. This feels, because I wanted to protect you. And yet I had to inform you a few months in that he was your boyfriend because you were not even aware. I was like, no, he is your boyfriend. No, he's not. Okay, you've been dating him exclusively, but there was that avoidance, that fear of really committing again, because the body is saying, oh my God, if you commit, this may happen again. Because think about what happened with you. Everything was fine until you got married. You'd fully committed. The day you got married is when you said everything, did a 180.
Yes.
So it makes perfect sense that your body would be like, no. And there was a lot of resistance, and this guy has been very patient with you. And by the way, I think we talked about that on podcast 199. That's how you know you've got the right guy or the right woman. If you're a man that's having a relationship with a woman, it's like, or a man and a woman, whatever you're doing. It's like when you have someone that's willing to be patient and wait for you to catch up, you've got the right one.
Yeah.
If you've got somebody that's pressuring you and they're saying, well, I want to commit and I want to have sex and I want to do this. And what do you mean you're not ready? And they're pushing you, not the right one.
Right.
Because someone that really cares about you and really deeply cares about you and is falling hard for you, they're willing to wait. They're willing to take time. Again, it's not like you dated him for 3 years and then you were still not calling him your boyfriend. But do you know what I'm saying? It had been a few months. It was time. I had to nudge you a little bit.
It was. And I think, one of the most important things, at least for myself and others, I think that are getting into a relationship, if this is, post-relationship, was I was very clear with him up front too. I told him when it was the right time that I had been divorced. And I also told him very clearly, I just need to take this slow. Mm-hmm. And I was upfront with him, which I think a lot of times, if you keep it inside, they don't know where you're at. So you have to clearly tell them where you're at.
Right. And again, if they're the right person, they're willing to wait. They're willing to go at your pace, especially understanding because you've been through a traumatic experience. So give yourself grace. If you're feeling pressured, get out.
Yes.
Well, get some coaching or get therapy. And if you really are going at the fastest pace you can go, then get out. They're not the right person because the right person will wait for you. Emotionally numb would be another sign, which you had certainly some of that. Yes?
I did for sure in the beginning.
Issues with sleeping or even concentrating?
100%.
Yeah. Startles easily?
100%.
Yep.
That and I think it's even that I think that was like the dropping of the water.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I dropped the water and I just kind of froze. I was like, what's going to happen right now? Same thing with, I folded the towel wrong and I was like, oh my gosh, I realized when I walked out of the bathroom, I didn't fold that towel right. Oh my gosh, I got to go back in that. It was just this moment of, and doesn't that just sound so dumb? But it
doesn't. Not when I think about what you went through, it does not sound dumb.
Yeah, but
and many people will say that to me in session. Like, I know this sounds ridiculous. It does not sound ridiculous because when you go through something like this, it makes perfect sense. It sounds quite normal, actually, based on what you went through. And you're not alone. Oh my gosh, you're not alone. Did I just say startles easily?
Yes.
I think I did. Yeah. Oh yeah. That was the towel. And that was me, Dive. That's where I come in too. May have very low self-worth or shame or not know who we are. And that absolutely gets stripped away. Who are we? Because we become, instead of being who we really are, we become, again, that person that walks on eggshells to not upset them, and we lose ourselves. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's so true. I think for sure self-worth and shame can be a big factor. I'm very thankful that I had a healthy upbringing in that sense. But my whole thing was I lost my true self because of exactly what you said. I walked on eggshells.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost my way. And I realized even in this relationship now, I needed to figure out how I liked doing things and what I like doing. And don't get me wrong, like I know little things, but I had to be okay with myself separate from that relationship. Mm-hmm. Like I had to love myself. I had to know who I was outside of a relationship, because I was also afraid in the beginning of, I think one of the biggest fears was getting into this relationship and still not being okay by myself kind of thing. So I balanced the building self, knowing self, and the relationship at the same time, so I don't lose myself in a relationship. Because I don't want to go down that path again, and I need to, which I believe everything happens for a reason, and it just taught me, to not lose my voice and remember who I am, and it's okay if I don't do something right, or it's okay to have equal opinions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Completely. And I think even if you were raised as someone with higher self-esteem or self-worth, when you're in a relationship like this with someone, that part of you, it gets lost and you become someone else in order to protect yourself. So regardless of your childhood, it doesn't matter. You become someone else, and that self-worth starts to almost drain away. You got to then build that yourself back up and find that part of you. All right. So those are some of the signs of PTSD. So if you have some of these signs, just take some time and start thinking like, gosh, could this be me? If it is, this is what you can do about it now that hopefully you're out of that relationship. But I do know of people, of course, that are still in the relationship. And I hope that this opens their eyes. So then they can say, oh my gosh, I'm in a relationship and this is happening to me. I am walking on eggshells. I am being lied to. I'm in a relationship with someone that's gaslighting me, that's someone that's emotionally abusive, and you all know, if you've listened to any of my shows, physical abuse is never okay. Not even once, never. If that happens, get out. That is my opinion. 100%. There's never a reason for anyone to be physically abusive with you, ever. There's no excuse. There's no reason. So to add to that, the emotional abuse, though, you might not even know that you're experiencing it because, like Tracy was saying, there's a covertness or this sneaky, it doesn't, maybe the person doesn't mean to be sneaky, but it happens so slowly, it trickles in, So what is this is you? How now, and I know you have come so far in such a short amount of time. That's why I really wanted you to talk about this today. Let's talk about some ways to help others if they are in a relationship like this. What are some things that you did?
Well, first of all, I have to say, literally, I just have to give my appreciate or thank you, because the adult chair model has broken it down so simply. I've always been a big person to, I can read over and over. And what I've learned of using the adult chair model is you provide so many tools and techniques and just simple things that have helped me kind of get out of those moments. And honestly, that's a lot of what I've used. So when I'm in the moment of that, like you said, the startle, my folding of the towel, and all of a sudden I realized like, oh, I didn't do that right. I got to go back in there. Or I spilt that water and froze and thought, oh my gosh, what is he going to say? A couple of things that I do. One is the K27 tapping in that moment. Yeah. Because I tell myself, I tap and tell myself, I'm okay. I'm okay. I say it very slowly. and take deep breaths and just really let it resonate with me or let it land. That's my biggest thing for in the moment.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you that are listening that don't know where the K27 points are, they're the kidney meridian acupuncture points. So you come down the collarbone with your fingers, and at the end of your collarbone, come down maybe half an inch, and you'll feel these two little indentations on either side. And if you rub there and they feel sore, that's a sign that you have fear in your body. So by tapping or rubbing those, you're able to clear the fear out of your body. So you're saying that you're tapping or rubbing those, as well as saying the words, "I'm okay," which was a really powerful month in the membership.
Yeah. And that's where I loved it, or I learned
Yeah.
it. Probably my favorite thing that you put out there is the I'm okay month, which I'm so thankful that you have up like individually, because I had missed that month. So I went back and got that month, and I literally like can't even believe you sell it for the price you do, because there's so many tools in there that I live by every single day. And I've listened to that teaching multiple times, like literally multiple times a month. I'm like, okay, what do I need right now? Because as I'm progressing, different things help me, but the I'm okay month, just everything in there, all the techniques are just so, so helpful. The K27 tapping is by far my favorite.
Awesome.
And I think this is from the I'm okay month as well.
I think, isn't that the month I gave a ton of tools to help you?
Yes.
Okay. You guys, I'll add that to the show notes. You just go to courses.theadultchair.com and you'll see it there. It's 1 month that we did in the membership that, again, everybody talks about this month of I'm okay. So I'll absolutely add it to the show notes if you guys are interested.
Yeah, because it was all exactly what I feel like the adult chair model is about. It's all just simple tools. Like little things that you gave us that in that moment we can use. You tell yourself that you're okay, whether it's a traumatic event happening or that has happened, or you're going through some type of emotion that you've kind of lost yourself. Like there's just so many great tips and tools. The other one, I think it was mentioned in that month as well. I know you'll love this.
What?
Occasionally if something happens, like the dumbest thing, I start crying.
Oh,
and
wow.
I know, right? But it's like not the appropriate time. So I go in a different room and I have to pull myself back together and say, what is fact and truth right now?
Yeah.
Because I realize I catch myself like getting really defensive, and which I learned last month in the membership, by the way. What are my defenses?
Yeah.
And I tend to snap back because in the past, I never spoke up for myself in my marriage. So I get very defensive and I get back, or I yell back. I don't yell back, but I get a little bit angry and explain like, no, that's not right. Whatever it may be. So instead, and then I start crying. Just like if you knew me, like I'm not a crier. So the fact that I cry is like, that is a sign that obviously I have PTSD. Because it just comes in the most random moment.
Yeah.
But I'll go in a room and I'll just say, okay, what actually just happened?
Yeah. It's about slowing it down and finding out what's fact and truth in the moment. And then you can bring yourself back. Wow.
Yeah. And deep breathing is always a big thing for me. Again, when I dropped the water and was doing the tapping, it was also about breathing like, I'm okay. And I just take those deep breaths. Or if for whatever reason, this doesn't happen to me, thankfully, because of everything that I've learned from the adult chair, this doesn't happen as often. I used to just have flashbacks. Like literally I could be sitting at a stoplight kind of thing. And that's when I would take deep breaths and, say, I'm okay. Or a lot of times I would all of a sudden feel these negative thoughts coming through. And it was things that he told me that I know wasn't true. And so I would say to myself, I am enough. Like, I am good at this. So, if I'm working on something, I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't right. This isn't right. And I'm beating myself up. I'm enough. I am good at this. Because for so long, he told me over and over, I sucked, basically.
Yeah.
I was worthless.
Yeah. And there was a lot of gaslighting. I remember when you had gotten a new job and you were working till 7.
Yeah.
And he like criticized you and said, what's wrong with you? Aren't you smart enough that you can't get it done by 5? And you were just working really hard and loved your job and making a great impression on your boss. And he criticized you. So there's that gaslighting. It's that flipping of reality and truth. So to get you confused.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that in itself. Oof.
Yeah.
So that's really a lot of what I used. I'm nervously going into these months of the membership.
This whole month is on triggers. This is probably a good one for you, right?
It's so hard. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but I'm so thankful because it's helping me realize. That's when I did start realizing when I was triggered, and I'll walk away. And the first thing I do is, what is fact and truth? Yeah. And I bust those stories.
Awesome.
So,
I love your adult chair language. You are a good student of the adult chair. So I've got a few things I want to add. If you, again, hopefully you're out of the relationship, but whether you're in or out, it doesn't matter. These are some things you can do for the steps toward your healing. Find people that are close to you to help you with your healthy and current reality. Okay. Because what happens is when we live with someone that's distorting our reality, we don't know what's true. So that's like when I went to you, Tracy, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, like, he's your boyfriend. It's been 4 months. Like, it's like, what? You resisted, right? And so sometimes we need another person. All you need is one person that's healthy. Call a coach, call a therapist, call a friend, call someone that you can trust and say, hey, is this true? Because this is what I'm thinking, but I'm not quite sure. Because when we live with someone that keeps distorting our reality, we really don't know. We are confused. Some people really enjoy going to some sort of group. That's fine. The only thing that I do not like about groups, and I think groups are fantastic. I've done more healing in different kinds of groups, process groups. I don't like groups when people sit around and talk about and complain about what happened in the past. If the group is not moving you forward, and I've had people write in and ask me, do you think if I'm not getting anything out of this group, should I stay? Please follow your heart. Don't ask me. Get out of the group. Like, unless it's benefiting you, then you stay if you're getting something out of it. Otherwise, get out. It's time to go. But if they're moving you forward, the key with trauma is, you guys, with PTSD is, by the way, the brain gets stuck. When we have trauma, the brain gets stuck in the past. It gets stuck in the event that was traumatizing. So a big thing that we do with trauma and trauma healing is helping you to complete the story, finishing the story, letting you know. So I was with someone just recently again, and they were in a car accident. I can't remember who it was, just recently. And I said, would you please tell so-and-so? Oh, would you please tell so-and-so that they made it?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you let so-and-so know that they survived the car accident? Let them know what day it is. So we really want to, in the case of trauma, because what we're doing is we are re-educating the body. We're working with the inner part saying, hey, you made it. You're okay. You're okay. Inner child work is really powerful. I myself have done a ton of that. I've done a lot of work just all by myself, using exactly what I give to you guys, as far as the inner child work goes. I've got that free inner child prompts for you guys and journaling prompts on the website that you can use in order to start healing. So when you build a relationship with the inner child, you're able to educate that younger part of you that's stuck in the past. And we bring them and reorient them into the present moment. Staying grounded is really important. So when we're triggered, we lift out of the body, we freeze, all of those things. You've got to remind yourself where you are and that you're safe. And that's exactly what you're doing, Tracy, using the K27s. You're saying, and when you say I'm okay, and if you guys get that month, you'll know it's about saying it slowly, like I'm okay. When you say it fast, it won't work. If you just go, I'm okay, not going to work. If you say, I'm okay, it drops in the body. It's about bringing it below the chin and educating the body. Affirmations, like you said, really powerful. I am okay. I matter. I'm enough. And when you add the mirror work to that, so powerful. And remember, I just want to say, be easy on yourself. Just the fact that you want to take the journey to healing this trauma and your PTSD, Fantastic. Can you give yourself a pat on the back? Give yourself grace. This might not happen overnight, but man, it happens pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you've got the right tools and the right people helping you, it can happen pretty quickly. I mean, you're a testament to that, honestly. I mean,
yeah,
honestly. Let's see. And the last thing, well, there's some other things. People say to me, like, what do I need to do? You guys know how I feel about myofascial release by John Barnes, trained practitioner. Myofascial release takes the trauma out of the body. You're working with a fascia, which is where our emotions are stored in the fascia of the body. So working with a myofascial release practitioner is really important. That's trained by John Barnes. I'm not talking about myofascial massage, myofascial release technique. I also love craniosacral work. I love somatic experiencing. So you can find someone that's trained in somatic experiencing. Anyone that is a specialist in trauma work, but somatic experiencing and all of these things I just mentioned really do help with trauma. And really, this is about rebuilding your self-worth and your sense of self. So I've given you guys a lot. Oh, I didn't even mention this in the beginning. Something that we do every year that's 100% free that we're starting in November is our 30-day journaling challenge. This 30-day journaling, you get a prompt a day, and it's all about you taking a deeper dive into you and helping you to rebuild self and finding who you truly are. It helps you to work with triggers. It helps you to build self-worth. It helps you with boundaries. It helps you working with the inner child. All of that's going to happen in 30 days. So if you're interested in that, go to theadultchair.com/30 days. That's 30 days. I'll put all this in the show notes. Gosh, there's a lot that's going to go in the show notes. So if you just go to theadultchair.com, it's all right there on the website. You'll see it on the podcast page. But is there anything else you want to add, Tracy? This was so good, so informational, educational, and I'm hoping it really does wake people up that might be living with PTSD that don't even know it. But is there anything else you want to add?
I think the only thing I want to add is that one thing I wasn't aware of, I mean, I was and I wasn't, is that it's a journey. You're not going to change instantaneously with any of these things. You know, I picture myself, you know, or I'd be in that room and I'd go and get myself out. I thought if I did that one time, I'd be good, but it's not, you know, it's a journey. And so you may have to do things over and over, but you'll notice over time that you have to do it less and less. And that's okay. And you have to be patient with yourself. And you know, I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, so I wanted to do it right and get it done the first time. And it takes time and it can be quick. And these tools help you in the moment for sure. But it's about the journey and, you know, figuring out yourself, getting to know yourself. And I'm thankful for the membership because more than anything, that's like a daily dose for me. And it's helping me get through this and helping me learn more about myself and building myself and building my worth back. And honestly, I'm just thankful for that because it is a journey, and I'm thankful for everyone that's in there that's helping me with my journey.
There's some really great support in there for sure. I agree. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, it takes a lot for someone to come on the show and really share their story. And I really appreciate it because you have done, now this is again, your 3rd podcast. And I really appreciate it because I know it's really vulnerable and it takes a lot to get out here and share with the whole world, you know, what happened to you and what you're doing now to heal. And I know you're going to help a lot of people. And that's why I wanted to have you on. So thank you so, so much. And to add to what you said, it is a journey. I really wanted that magic pill that could heal me in, you know, an hour, like an Advil, and it's not out there, but it is a journey. And if you have the right tools, it can be a very quick journey to healing. So I think we've given them like 50 things in this podcast. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I'm so glad. I'm so humbled to hear when someone says, oh, I use this and this and this. And I didn't even know a lot of what you shared today. So thank you. And I'm so glad. So I'll put everything in the show notes. Thanks, Tracy. Always a delight to have you on. And that's it, you guys. So again, I'll add everything to show notes. Don't forget to sign up for the 30-day journaling challenge. It does start on November 1st. That's theadultchair.com/30 days. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining me. I wish you a beautiful week and I'll see you seated next week right here in the Adult Chair.